Well, hello. Hey, Sean. So obviously this is us having a proper podcast now, on my Let's Talk podcast. So thanks for coming on, mate.
No, no bother, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh,
See how
anytime,
you
mate.
go.
Anytime. So I think we'll start with a wee bit of, we'll go backwards and we'll think about how we how we first met. So I think I initially met you would have been, say, a bad my old age memory is now. Would have been what, 2017?
2017, that's when I just got elected
2017.
to student president. So 2017, 2018, roughly about that time gap. But and then obviously our first NUS conference. So, which was entertaining, let's just say.
Yeah, it was. I remember that being very eventful. But I mean, I think that's. It's so funny when I think back because I think like that's a lot of the stuff that me and you are doing now and we're passionate about now. Kind of stems back for then
Aye,
because it's
definitely.
like I've a bit like yourself. I've always been passionate about mental health, but it was never really. I'd never really had that opportunity until in the college to work in mental health.
I think because
So
there's
like,
so many different avenues and aspects to mental health, and obviously the difference is, like, so with the positions that we were in, me president, you VP, and then it just started to come out as, well, from what I realise now, and Kelvin to be specific, is there's two different VPs plus a president, which is the one I fought for, but it's just, you could set rules when back then we didn't have set rules. We were basically one man bands and they deal with everything. So it's my man, give me a
I mean,
sandwich.
like you said, it was that back in the day we were sort of one band and it was you were jack of all trade, master of none. It's like, we just
Aye.
had to do every role. A bit like you're saying, when I was at West College Scotland, I've noticed that with them as well. They've started bringing in new roles with the Student Association and it's VP of this and VP of that and VP of this. And it's like, again, it's
Exactly.
good that they're bringing it. It's good that they're bringing it in because it's kind of the thing that we were all kind of fighting for was to try and get
Try and get as
more
much representation as we
representation.
can. Because the simple fact is, if we didn't have a lot, we had volunteer officers who, either some of them were absolutely outstanding, and some of them really just wanted to be in a position of pretend power and try to find out what they can actually enforce, what they can enforce. But it was one of the ones where, basically the buck stopped with us, and that was it. We were in charge of everything. We had to make sure we still had budgets, we still had clubs, but at the same time, try to fight the board and get policy through, try to fight the board for shutting down colleges and everything else. It was an absolute nightmare, so it was. But at the same time, one of the best jobs I've ever had is doing into that kind of aspect where, you wake up in the morning, right, okay, I know what my meetings are, but I don't know what's going to be the outcome of the meetings. So it was that kind
Hmm.
of thrill and excitement to get into the work the next day.
It is. It's like, I mean, I know about you. I mean, I know you probably went into it with a lot more understanding of what the role was. I mean, how I got the role initially was a bit like a shock. I mean, we were just sitting in the class one day, and the guy who was on the way out was like, "Hey, would any of you guys want to do this job?" And I was like, "Haha, I could do that." And one of the boys was like, "You should do that as a joke." And I was like, "Hi, hi, yeah, hi." And then the more I thought about it, I was all right. And then they nominated me, and I was like, "All right." Then it's like doing a manifesto and getting everything up and running, and
Yes.
then I was like all proud of it, like, yes, I've got a manifesto, I know what I'm doing, and got it all out, and I was leafleting everywhere, and I'm like, right, I hope I win this, or I hope nobody takes it from me. And then I was like, hold on a minute, I don't see any other leaflets. And then they were like, no, you're running against three other. I was supposed to be running against three other people. One guy messed the form up. The other
That's not
two
good.
people were supposed to amend stuff that they hadn't had done right. And then it was like, oh well, they've not amended it, so
Same.
it's yours. And I was like, all right. And then, like you said, it's like because with the student association for me as well, it was a really weird experience because my whole circle went literally full circle because that was in my last year at the college, like when I was getting ready to like finish my course and leave. But yet, when I had first went to the college, when it wasn't West College Scotland, when it was Clydebank,
Mm.
um, when I was at Clydebank doing media before the very
Aye.
first time. Um, they didn't have a student association, and it was me and my
So,
pal Stuart who were like, "Here, we want a student association." So we got an office, we got it all put out, we got a bunch of names because they were like, "Well, you're going to need a certain amount of names to nominate you." So we were like, "All right, well, it shouldn't be that hard because there isn't a student association in the college." So we set the student association up in the Clydebank College, and then we set it up, got it running, got it doing amazing, and then it was really weird experience because then I came into the office one day and there was some woman just sitting in the office and I was like, "Excuse me, like what are you
uh,
doing in our office?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm running the student association." I was like, "No,
where
you're
have you
no,
been?
love. Like you're the one set it up." And then it was like, "No, no, well my mum said I was to run it," and I was like,
Your mum?
"Listen, I don't care if your mom, your dad, or your best pal tells you you're not running this student association."
Oh
And I was
God.
like to my pal, I said, is this somebody like playing a joke on us or something? Now it turned out her mom was on the board of the college and had just went, "Oh, you can run the student association." So he'd bumped us right out it. We started it and bumped it. So then again, that's what I'm saying. So it was weird. So then like that was my first time at the college. So then as I'm getting ready to leave, it's then freeze
Aye, full
like
circle.
right back, full circle, right back to running it again. Or helping to run it. And it was weird because a lot of it I didn't understand the full ins and outs of how much responsibility we'd have, how much you had on your head, and it was. I mean, I'll be honest, when I went into the role, I went into it with like the blinkers on, I thought about it weirdly the same way that I was fighting people's attitudes to have, because I was like,
Mhm.
oh well, it's just people. It's you just sit in the room and you answer the emails and you just talk to people as they pop in.
Mhm.
No, it's not at all. So I was like, it was amazing to actually get in and realise, right, okay, so here's just how much you can get involved with. Here's how much of an impact you can have. And it was like, right. And then, probably like yourself, Sean, as soon as you get in, it's good, but then you spot where it needs to be better, where it
Aye,
could be enhanced,
definitely.
where the work's really needed. I don't know about yourself at Kelvin, but like when we were at West College, some of the things that we were coming up against was absolutely like a joke. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
mind saying, like, out the job now, and I loved it. The job was amazing,
Mhm.
but some of the attitudes just didn't really
Oh,
help. But when you're having, we had people who were like, we need to work on more engagement for mental health. So I was setting stuff up for mental health, set up a mental health Fitbit team, if you remember. And then
aye,
it was
right.
like, all right, go and speak to the lecturer for the sports department. I'm like, done that. And then it was, we'll set it up for you, but don't call it mental health. I was like, no, that's exactly, but it's far as to help people with mental health, like get into
Mhm.
fitness and that as well. And it was like, no, no, no. If you call it that, nobody will come. And I'm like, all right, set it up. And then it was, but you can't be involved with running it because you're the student association. It's got to be student run. I was like, right, fine, got a student to run it. 3 weeks in, I had people coming to me like, this guy's no showed up.
Aye,
We're showing up to the hall and there's nobody there.
aye.
I
Exactly.
was like, oh. And they weren't promoting it, they weren't doing it. So like they're moaning that nothing was getting done the way they wanted. Then you're putting it into place, and then they're like, right, but we're not going to promote it. It's like, wow, it was so strange, man. I mean, how
The
was it
same
for
with
you
me
at
at
Kelvin?
Kelvin. The same because obviously, well, it was my ex boss, obviously Alden, who taught me my Actis. I'd been a class rep, I'd been a volunteer officer, I'd been all the way through the system, to be honest. And it was one of the ones where she knew I was dedicated to, try to improve things and try to get things done and raise good points at class rep meetings and all that. And she was like, Sean, are you coming up to the end of your graded unit? And I said, I'm coming up to the end of it. And she's like, yeah, well, if you pass, do you want me? I think you should go for student president. And I'm like, no, no, don't be that. Don't be that. So I never really had a good kind of circle of pals in my class. I had people that I knew, but I had nobody like I could come and go, oh, you're going to nominate me and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, don't really like asking people because it's like one of the ones where, all right, I'll do that for you, but you got to do it for me, kind of typical,
Aye.
typical go. And I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm not doing that. So it turns out that the actual class reps could have nominated me because I was always there. I was always one of them. So I got about 3 or 4 nominations, I think it was. My name was put in the ring, and I was out up against David. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's done the job for nearly a year, and I can't really see the benefit of him doing it. Because he sits in his office, he takes half days, he's away to all these different meetings where nothing ever gets brought back to us or nothing. Class rep meetings was basically held by Arlene and the VP at the time, the voluntary VP at the time. She was just like, well, I mean, there's not really much that we can say, and if you get any issues, then if you talk to your lecturer first and you're like, no, I was supposed to come to you with issues. No, well, lecturers. If you've got a dispute with a lecturer, we're not going to go, here you, by the way, I want to talk about this. We're not going to do that. So, I challenged David. I walked into his office and I went like that. What are you actually doing? And he's like, yeah, my job. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're not. So I'm taking off you. But I was David's voluntary officer at the time, so he seen that as a betrayal. He's like, yeah, alright, no bother, no bother. So I stopped getting voluntary assignments. I stopped getting all that kind of stuff while the campaign was going. It's an absolute nightmare, so it was. Eh, I think it was like, what, basically about just half a year. About 6 months, I think it was. That shows how bad I'm. It's one of the ones where I'm like, yeah, nah, do you know what? I feel as if I can do something better. I'm no perfect. I'm not 100% perfect, but I can definitely improve something. If I can make people a wee bit better, then that's absolutely fine. So, one of the questions that I always remember it in the class rep meetings was, do you know about the Student Association? Do you know what it stands for? Do you know what it does? And do you know how they can help you and support you throughout your time in college? Nobody knew who they were. Nobody knew what they could do or what powers they had or nothing. So I'm like, yeah, right, okay. Well, I'm a voluntary officer, so I took that personally because I was already in part of it. And I'm like, yeah, nah, it's not really, it's no fair. It's no fair. But in Springburn campus alone, there was what? Well, Kelvin campus was about 15,500 students, and not one of them could tell you who the president was and who the VPs were. So I'm like, yeah, nah, this needs to change. So I got my manifesto done. I actually just found my manifesto the other day when I was going out stuff. And I'm like, yeah, Jesus, what the hell was I thinking? So, honestly, it was a flashback. And the photo I used, man, seriously, I must have been getting through dementia or Alzheimer's or something. So, uh, it was a nightmare. And then, but we done the hustings, the President hustings. What was it? David actually came along. It was me, Arlene,
Your sound's cut out, mate. There you go.
one of the neighbours was trying to phone me. So mad. So basically, I was on the president hustings, and we ended up going through. But 3 people showed up. Literally, that was it. 3 people in the entire college showed up, and the top men say as well. So they asked questions to David, like, so who are you? What you've been doing? And like that, we couldn't answer them. So then there was 2 questions left, and the last one, David went at. Was a student, I think it was. Sure it was a student. Might be getting it wrong, I don't know. Don't quote me on it. It's one of the ones where it's like, yeah, so Sean, if you're how are you gonna increase the budget? How are you gonna get more stuff done? And David just butt right in and went like that. They won't be able to. They won't be able to. Because we need to get funding, we need to get this, we need to get that. And he went like that. So Sean, how are you gonna deal with that? I say simple. Open your mouth and ask. Open your mouth and ask. Simple as
Don't
that.
ask,
You
you
don't
don't
ask, you
get.
don't get it. Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, nah, this isn't happening. So I bet him by 2 votes. I bet him by 2 votes. So I did. All the campaign trail, everything was just mad. I was going in and out of classes before I went to main class in the morning. Oh, it was, I was knackered. I was absolutely knackered. But when I got the job, like you're saying, you realise how much, like, yeah, score it. Fantastic. And when I got the job, and found out it can be either a year's contract or a 2-year contract pending re-election. And I'm like, yeah, well, do you know what? Let's go for it. Let's see what we can do this year. And then if I've done a good enough job, then they might re-elect us. Wait and see what happens. But for me, it was just about making sure. I mean, we had a £5 grand budget in the essay, so we did, and it was you couldn't really do much with it. So I went up to the head of SA and said, listen, this £5,000 isn't going to do much. So is there any money that we can use that isn't being used at the moment? And she's like, well, money's sitting in a budget there, but it's conditional on meeting certain requirements. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay, what's the requirements? And me and my SA team ended up sitting down with a plan. Obviously came up with a partnership agreement, came up with, the code of conduct with the SA, came up with a lot of different other things, a lot of different policies and procedures, attended class rep meetings, actually gave them updates. It was remarkable, the amount of stuff that we done, but some of the conditions on getting the approval on the budget was like making sure we get clubs and societies running, which we really never had a plan to do that. We had certain students who wanted to do stuff like that, but at the same time they were kind of hesitant. This wee boy Jordan Payton, oh my god, he had additional support needs, but he was one of the ones who, if you wanted to know anything about Kelvin in the learning support department, you go to him, he would know everything. He'd know everybody's name, he'd know everybody's age, he'd probably know what the date of birth if you asked him. He was just really, really passionate about helping people. And honestly, that wee boy's confidence from the minute I brought him in to the minute he left was outstanding. Wee boy's working in security now. He never ever had the confidence to stand in front of anybody, and now he's working security. So it's about
Jordan,
changing
is that
people's life
no?
for the better.
Was he no? Did he no ask one of the questions at one of the NUS conferences? Did you know? Is
He
that not
might
the same
have.
Jordan? Is that the same Jordan? Did he come? Did that Jordan come to one of the events we went to?
I think he went to the
I think
Sparks one. I don't know if he
yeah,
went to
that I might be
Sparks.
thinking of a different Jordan. But aye, but
But
it's
no, and then it's mad so it is because then I'm like, yeah, right, okay, so it came up to my second term and it was, oh, who was the VP at the time? Who was the bloody vice principal? One of the VPs jumped in and said, Sean, can I see you a minute? I'm like, oh crap, what's happened here? So
mhm,
he goes up and sees him. He's like, yeah, why don't you have a look at that? It was a classroom questionnaires. And I'm like, oh god, have I done enough? Is the questions being asked that's appropriate to be asked, and am I, helping people? And
mhm.
I looked at it, and it was 97.7% is student satisfaction. It's still the highest to this day. And I'm
Jeez,
like,
man.
Jesus, man. I says, well, listen, I'm not taking all the credit for that. I'm not taking all the credit for that. That's me and my team. That's me and my
Hang
team.
on, but I remember at the events and stuff when your team were there, some of your team that were there, like you done really good at putting a good team together and knowing who to use for what role and how to use them to the best of your advantage. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is,
He's
the
like,
other team that I took, because they were all voluntary. Not one of them was in the paid position. They were all voluntary. And when we won the white ribbon stuff, it was, oh, that was incredible. So it was the amount of work and pressure and the amount of things that, I mean, it's all on YouTube. Viewers and that can go and check it. It's no problem. But it's one of the ones where you're just like, this is something that's going to actually be continuous. It's no just going to start and stop when I leave. it's going to keep going, which it has. It became a national recognition thing. And then you look at obviously NUS stuff, the policies that they've implemented, coming around to try and get their vote and see what they can do. Don't get me wrong, they came around and spoke to you, that's absolutely fine, but then you never seen them again until a conference. So, and then you're trying to look for more funding for further education colleges instead of higher education getting it all. But you were fighting a losing battle with that one, so you were.
I mean, some of the jobs and some of the things, the challenges that you have to face, it's like I really wish there'd been like cameras in the office and stuff or to following you about to see some of the stuff you have to deal with because it's like I mean I noticed that like when I had a conversation with a couple of boys I was at college with when they were asking me like oh what is it you do and blah 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 and I was trying to explain because again as you know like some of the issues that we had was I mean at one point we actually thought our student association was going to get shut like we
Right?
was going to get shut at one point because to go back, and I'll not mention any names, but you'll
Nah.
know who I mean. But in the beginning, we had a president who came on and who was very in people's faces
hmm
and pretty much was using, the way I see it, just my own personal opinion, was using the role as like a look at me. Do you know what I mean? He was very, everything had to be for show, but then he was very picky in the role. So it was like, any of the events that were coming up or things we had to go and attend, he was he was very picky as to who he was going to take, who he wasn't going to take, where he was spending the budget, where he wasn't spending the budget, and it was like, oh okay. And then he was in for a while and was kind of cutting our strings off because half the stuff that the team wanted to do and implement, of course, you've got to go through the president to get the approval, and
Aye,
then he had his own agenda as to what he was wanting to do. So it was no, no, no.
definitely.
I'm not interested in that. This is what I'm doing, and that's it. And I'm like, oh, that's a very diplomatic way to look at it when you're more than one campus. But he just wanted to do his own thing. Then
Basically, it
he
was a
left.
dictatorship instead of a bloody democracy.
Exactly. So then he left, and then we had another person come in for the president role because we had our three VPs. We had Greenock, Paisley, Clydebank.
hmm
One of our VPs should have stepped up, but she was
hmm
already studying, so she didn't step up. Wanted to, and I think really should have, which that showed later, which I'll get to.
Aye.
But then we had another president come in, and we were like, all right, okay, now we've got a full team again. Let's see what's what. Unfortunately, that president didn't have a clue what they were doing at all. So they then left the role as well. So it was like, okay, you've lost two presidents,
Aye.
and this would have been in the space of less than a year. So we
Jeez.
were like, geez, this is what's going to happen now. Thankfully, we had a VP who, and I'm not sure no mind me saying, Nicole stepped up, took
hmm
on the role, and I was like, brilliant. She knows what she's doing. We're in safe hands. If we can't thrive now, then we deserve to go, to be honest. So that
Aye.
was fine. So she stepped up, and then I kind of stepped up assisting. So it was like
hmm
she was running, I was seconding, helping her. I had to attend all the meetings she didn't go to, and that was brilliant because I felt so sorry for her and how we got into a position that we did is detrimental to her because it's like it's so down to her because
hmm
she came on and half the stuff that should have been getting done, or the paperwork, or the bits that were needed, or pretty much all the bits that were the role that you needed to fulfill, was not getting done. So she had to come in, backlog everything, then put in place what we were going to do, and then structure the future. So it was like boom, 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 three roles all in one while she was still studying as well. So she came in, and it was like credit to her, like she was made for that role. Like when it came to all the paperwork side of it, and she was like, anytime anybody questioned it, or why do you need this, why do you need that, Nicole had it all mapped out. Like
Aye.
Here's why. Here's the reasons. Here's what they're saying. The students are saying we need, and here's where the money needs to go, and here's what we need to do, and here's what we're implementing, and here's what we're going to change. And then everything flipped massively because I mean, you can see how it flipped because we went for being which is amazing. Like, this is a thing that annoys me because people don't see all the work that we done in our college
Mhm.
because it's like we went for borderline. They were like, we're going to have to pull the plug here, and shut this
Aye.
student association down." Which we were one of the biggest colleges in Scotland, so it's like if you pull the plug, how
Mhm.
many people are only getting the support they need? So
Exactly.
then we went through that to then, as you know, with the Healthy Body, Healthy Mind Awards, with through NUS
Oh,
and
you
that.
crushed that. You totally crushed that. So you did.
Eh?
You totally crushed that. So you did. You've crushed that. You've nailed that right now. So you did. You've done amazing at
We
that.
done amazing, and that's the thing that, like I said, that people don't understand is we went for being a student association that, to be honest, like I said, so to go back a wee bit, I had been studying at the college for what, just short of 4 years because I'd done an NA sort of taster course, then I'd done my NC, HNC, HND. Time I was finished and was ready to leave, I'd done almost 4 years in there. I'd I was in the canteen every day, and that's where our office is. I didn't know the student association was there, so we went for where nobody knew where the student association was. It wasn't visible. You couldn't go, oh, there it's there.
Aye.
Then all of a sudden, we got it all visible. We got it all turned around. We went for nearly getting shut down to then be nominated for two of the biggest awards, and we won one. And I'm not saying we would have won the other one, but the same sense, we pretty much were knocked out the running for it because part of, as you know, part of the criteria is you needed to have designated staff members.
Mhm.
We don't have that college didn't have a single designated staff member for us.
No. Right.
Everything that we done, we had to do ourselves. We
Mhm.
didn't have any volunteers. We didn't have anybody helping us. We didn't have any staff helping us. We didn't have any help with anything. So to go for that to then getting awards, and then because of the work that we done, we got our budget increased as well for the student association. I'm like, right, brilliant. And then, as you know, half the stuff that we were sitting on, like I was going around doing CAD experience, representing all the CAD experience students, doing that, sitting on that. Then also sitting on I wish I could remember the right wording for it, but it was, the gender-based violence, NUS, what
Aye. The
Scotland
way
done,
done stuff.
the cards, the purple cards.
Oh, aye. Aye.
We were sitting on that, like the helping them to like pick out like what bits should go in, what should get fitted, how it should look. So like
Mhm.
it's all these things that you don't realise that you're doing. So to go for that to that was just amazing, and that's how I've always said it's one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had because, like I said, when I went in, I didn't know what to expect, and then to see all the stuff that we implemented and all the stuff that we changed, and again, all the things that people would never ever hear, would never ever understand, i.e., the occupying the stage that we had today to get stuff done at NUS. So it's like people don't realise all the changes that were happening in laws, all the things that were happening was part of all these different student associations just all coming together and being like, no, this isn't the way it needs to be, this is how it needs to be. But then
Mhm.
people don't see that you're doing that when it's like, oh, this has went up and this has got better and that's got better. It's like, you're welcome.
Aye. How? It's basically
Aye.
one of the old questions, like say when you were at school, and you're like, yeah, right, okay, so that's the sum there, but you need to show your work. It was one of the things where, it's like you said earlier on, you wish there was somebody designated to go in and not even film you all the time, but just capture your best highlights and just tell me and go, if you were in a board meeting, you made a good point, or do you know what, we'll put that in, this is how they got the budget increased. It was the same going to these academic boards and the learning teaching committee and all that, all the committees, and oh my god, there were tons of them. And then obviously I set up the mental health and wellbeing committee in my college, and it was just like, it was amazing stuff that we were doing, but there was other colleges that had to, who were winning awards and all that, and we were like, yeah, right, okay, that's fine. But we focused on the gender-based violence stuff because
Mhm.
we had a partnership with White Ribbon, and that partnership was far too valuable to let go down the toilet, basically. And then we done the PD property stuff. We were picked to be piloted for that, and it was great. So it was absolutely great. Obviously, our staff member had that, but when I say our staff member, we never really had a staff member either. We had a learning engagement officer who had her own job, but volunteered to help us as well. But for a long time, it was just me and the rest of the team. It was just like, what do you want to get? Right, so at the start of the year, before freshers and all that, like, what we're going to do and how we're going to plan this out. Right, okay, that's your job, that's your job. And I want, you know, bi-monthly report to come and tell me what you have done in your colleges, what you have done in your campuses, how many students you have spoke to, and all that kind of thing. Did they know about us? Did they need anything? Just let us know. It was one of the ones where you're like, yeah, we need to be as visible as we can be so that if anybody turns around and goes like like say a new person coming in, what, excuse me, I've got an issue, I don't know who to go to. Oh
Mhm.
well, go to the student association. It's just up there, it's just one of you where it is. And be that kind of friend, be that help and support that people need. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm thinking about with obviously the mental health stuff. It's it's amazing. The way you say it's an amazing job. I would highly recommend it to anybody. I went through school. I thought my school was free standard grades. I'm sitting here today with HND, and I've been student president for 2 years. And the accomplishments, I was on the NUSC stage and everything, fighting for further education, and I was going for NUS president, and it was one of the most amazing experiences in my life. And I met some truly inspirational, amazing people. I mean, obviously yourself, Abby, everybody else, and the amount of
I
stuff
we
that we
were.
done was
I would
incredible.
say like we was really so lucky in the team that we had. And I mean, I know I say team we had because obviously we were all different colleges and whatever, right? But when I look back and I look at the team that were there in place in the second year versus first year, I would, no offence to the second year, I mean, everybody does their own things different, right? But for me personally, my own opinion, there wasn't as much heart there as our original lineup had. Do you know what I mean? And it was like when I looked at what really worried me when I was like getting ready for going out the role after the second year was when we went to when the teams went to Livingston and it was like that's the first event sort of thing
Hmm.
you're in the role and I was like, oh, how did you find it, did you bond, how did it go, what, and they were all like,
No, there was no kind of engagement
and
in
then we
there.
went to some of the events because yourself, we were still at the events before we tailored and went out and then they came in.
Hmm.
And some of them, there wasn't that, they didn't seem to have the bond that we had. But yet, yourself, the first year we were there at Livingston, it was like within
I get
10 minutes
that.
of being in a room, everybody was like, these are my people, this is
Aye,
it.
that's that.
And it was like we were all so bonded and so close. And it was really funny because although I was a bit iffy with it because I thought we all had different colleges. I thought, oh, is there going to be competition? Is it going to be, well, my college is better than your college or this?
Hmm.
But it wasn't. Like everybody was genuinely like, listen, we're all in the one boat. Let's row together. Let's go. Do you know what I mean? And I think that really would set us up as well as we did that year. I think that's how, if you look back at it and you look at how well all the colleges performed that the first year versus further on,
Hmm.
it's there was definitely a standard set, I would say. Because I
Oh,
mean,
it was.
I don't know about you with Kelvin, but I know some of the things in West College that got changed when we left, I wasn't happy about.
Hmm.
Like they changed the WhatsApp that we had. I know it doesn't sound like much, right? But the WhatsApp we had, they changed
Hmm.
the name, so it wasn't you couldn't find it as easy. It wasn't too much of a
Aye, that's
change, but
right.
it still changed. half the
Mhm.
posts that we had put previously that were on there with our photos and stuff were all took off.
Right.
And I'm like, right, so anybody coming in, looking back, anything that showed all the hard work we'd done, the awards we'd won, everything like that,
There was a one.
you wouldn't know. Because it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh man. And then I know as well, like down the line, I was like, oh, how's healthy body, healthy mind going? You know, checking in, and it was, nah, we decided not to do that anymore. And
Ridiculous, honestly.
I was like, oh man, I get it if he's a stretched too thin or whatever. There's no
It's still
excuse for
important
it
work that
because
needs to be done.
it's all important work. And I was also like, you know, not to be like blowing smoke, you know, but like I said, we had two presidents leave. We had a stripped bare team, but we look at what we achieved. It's like, well, you've not really got any excuse. So it's just a hard one to say that it's no continuing
It
on.
was, it was the same at Kelvin, so it was, because obviously I check back in every now and again, and not really personally, but at the same time, it's like I check online and I check and see what the partnership agreement says and all that. And obviously that's supposed to be amended every 2 or 3 years, roughly. But the difference is, it's still the one I wrote. It's still the one I wrote. And I'm just like, the only difference is that now one of the changes that was made was the president role was split. So it's a president of learning and teaching, a president of something else, communities, I think it is. And I'm like, yeah, why did you split the president role? You had I fought for a paid VP part time and one 1.5 FTE, and then they're just like, well, why would you do that? Why would you split a president role that doesn't need to be split when one person's going to do I'm the president and the other person's going, no, I'm the president. My title's president. No, my title's president. You're just like, you're just creating a
That's
divide
the thing,
there.
because then it creates conflict between the two presidents. Well, who's president? But then it also confuses the students because then it's like, well, who's the president we got to? And then it's, not to quote a good show here, but it's kind of like still game when they go and it's like, no, I'm laminate flooring. It's like, no, it's like passing the buck. No, I can't do that. It's this person. It's,
I mean, do we go to, I mean, anybody with half a brain or with a brain cell would come and tell you if that's the way it's going to be, then learning and teaching you go to them for your courses and your lectures and stuff like that. And VP president communities or whatever, you go to them for the clubs and societies. Anybody with half a brain will be able to tell you that. But the difference is, when you look at students who are right deep in the middle of it and coming and saying, well, I can't even think straight on my course, I'm going to be like telling who I go to, I just want help.
aye.
You're just like, you're not actually making things easier for them. You're actually you're putting more barriers and more obstacles in. That's all you're doing. The way it works is, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the last report I looked at. What's that? I think the question, do you know the student association exists? I think it's at 90.5% when it was at 97.7. I'm just like, there's
It's a
nothing
big
you can
drop.
do.
Still high, but it's a big drop.
It's a massive drop because at the end of the day, it's like you said, all the policies and procedures that we put in place, all the budgets and everything we fought for, all the new buildings, joining initiatives like the cycling club and all that, and everything else, and the velocity, and part of the healthy body, healthy mind, part of the white ribbon campaign, all that kind of stuff, was just all being like, that was that year. And I was just like, no, it wasn't it? That was stuff that can shape the legacy of this college and can shape the actual legacy of the students that were here. So, and all that was good because everybody, especially people who haven't been in the role and haven't really done what we've done between me, you, Nicole, Abby, and the rest of them, the rest of the gang, or should I say, the Silent Foxes, and something like that. That's all things that you can put towards, maybe job interviews or podcast stuff, doing like that, listen, this is what I done such and such a date. And it's achievements, it's things that are close to you. Whether you were dragged into taking the student or whether you initiated the pilots, it doesn't matter. You still participated in that. And that's one of the reasons why you were selected to win the awards, why you were selected, that you got recognition.
Well, that's the way I looked at it. I mean, it's like I said, I went into it and I was kind of blind. I didn't know exactly what the role was. But
Oh,
as soon
same.
as I was in, I was like, right, this is my opportunity. This is my full circle. This is me back in Student Association. This is me finishing what I started. And I started that, would have been, shows you how long the difference is, showing my age here as well. I mean, I went into the role in West College in 2017, but I initially set it up 2004. Aye,
You are
full
old.
circle definite. Getting into it and no knowing what it was, but the way I looked at it was, I'm like, right, as soon as I realised, I was like, oh, I could do this for a while, and then they were like, no, 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 you only can, the max you can do is 2 year. So then that just flipped my mindset, and it's just the way I look at things. I went, right, okay, well, you get one shot at this. You either sit back, take a paycheck, do nothing. You can dig in, get right in about
Mhm.
it, and make the change that you wanted to see when you were a student. Do you know what I
Aye,
mean? It's like
exactly.
you've only got one opportunity, and there's no point in sitting back and going, "Oh, I wish I'd done that in the role. I wish I'd done that." Oh, it's like simple. Did you date or did you know?
Aye, exactly. You've
You know what
got
I
to
mean? And that's
choose.
the thing. Like we can both look back and say, nobody can ever come to us and go, "I think you could have done more." Like there's no more we could have done. Like we excelled. Do you know what
We
I mean?
excelled in a position where we were we hit more barriers than anybody else has ever jumped in their life.
Aye.
Honestly, there was so much. I mean, the stigma was still about mental health. The stigma was all about the period poverty stuff, and you know, at the time where there was so much uncertainty. Don't get me wrong, obviously the world's got worse and the world's evolved and all that since then, but
But
we
I mean,
never had
that's
to
the
deal
thing as
with.
well. I mean, that's what's good about the time period that we were in and we did. Everybody collectively for all the colleges that we were representing, we all made the change at the right time because I genuinely don't think the way things are now, I don't think we'd have got the traction that we did. We'd have made the changes that we would have now.
No,
We'd have
definitely
faced
not.
way too many. Do you know what I mean? But the thing is, as well, I kind of the flip side to that. I think if we didn't make the changes that we did when we did, I don't think the student associations would still be able to progress the way they are now. I think they're only progressing the now because of the work we done, but they're
Hmm.
still not hitting the levels. Maybe no offence to them,
No.
but they're still not hitting the levels. But they're at least still trying to implement. Whereas if we didn't put in place all the stuff that we did or all the changes that we
Hmm.
made, they'd have been in a lot worse situations. Do you know what I mean?
Well, for example, for yourselves, you might not even had one. You're just
Well,
like, well,
that's it. I
it's funny,
mean,
eh?
we would
I mean, I
if we
never had a
wouldn't have had a
handover
student
document or
association, it
nothing.
would have been it.
I never had a handover document or nothing from my previous president. But yeah, I know for a fact when I left, I had every single thing laid out and the amount of stuff that we done, the last 2 years, bloody notes and everything else. And I got all the officers to write a report as well, which was a
That's
challenge
the
in
thing I
itself.
always one of the things I always liked with yourself, Sean, is for me personally, right? What made you stand out to me, head and shoulders above the rest, was see if anybody else was put in the spot with a lot of the role. What's this? What's that? How do you engage with this? How do you do that? How do you do this? Who's this person? Who do you go talk to for that? They would, uh, oh, hold on, I'll go and ask. I'll check a minute. Hold on, who was that person we speak to? Whereas with you, I could be like, Sean, who's this? And you'd be like, bang, that person. How do I deal with
Hmm.
this? I go to that person. How do I deal with this? I go there. And the funny thing was, it wasn't just you for your college. Do you know what I mean? You could ask you, right, I'm having a problem at West College. How should I go about this, mate? What should I do? And you could be like, right, here's the person you should go and talk to. Here's what he'd to go to. Here's how to implement it. And here's how to write it up so that you can prove what you're saying and why it's needed. You could get it all. it's like how many people in the roles these days could go, they care that much and they
Hmm.
have that amount of knowledge to go, I've got this and I've got you. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because it's like you yourself, it's finding that happy blend. You've either got people who are in the role wanting to do stuff for themselves, wanting to do stuff for the students, and but not really going at it. But you've got to kind of find that. Do you know what I mean? You've got to basically like
It's the
we're
same in
on a
everything.
level playing field.
It's the same in everything, James, because you're just like, I mean, nowadays you're trying to find a work-life balance, and you need to find out work-life balance in that role, because whether some people think it is a style for 2 years, or whether some people think it is a really hard job, then you need to find that balance, because if you don't find that balance, you're the one that's gonna, it's not only you that's gonna suffer, it's your team, it's your students, and the college is gonna suffer as well, the reputation of the college is really good in. So,
Exactly.
they're just
I mean,
like,
that's the
well,
thing. It goes down to that. You get out what you put in.
exactly,
It's like, do you
exactly.
know what I mean? You're only gonna get as much out as you're putting into the role. If you're going in there like you said and just going, oh well, it's a role and I'll skive and whatever, you're not going to get
Hmm.
anything out of it. You're going to walk out and go, I've just wasted 2 years or a year, what depends how long you're in the role. But like, how did you find the transition? Like coming out of the role, out, and then just kind of like I don't know why I can analogy put it because it makes sense in my head. It's kind of like
Aye.
when you're in the army and you come out and it's like
Hmm.
going back to civvy life. It's like
Aye.
how did you manage? Because I know for me at that time I really struggled like really badly. Like my mental health took a massive dip, which is really knowing how to implement everything that we learnt in the role and doing all the training that I done. And when I done my awareness in mental health, my Scottish mental health first aid training. I mean, since then I've also done suicide intervention and prevention stuff. But like, if I didn't have all the knowledge I had for my mental health before, I don't know what state I'd have been in. Because when I left the role, obviously it was COVID,
Mm,
and
that's
then
right, so it was.
my wee man was born. So it was like I went for we're at all the events throughout Scotland. We're seeing hundreds of people. We've got different people, and 9 times out of 10, if I was struggling, I come to yourself. If I need somebody to talk to, I'll
Same.
come to yourself. So you always had somebody to talk to who knew how to kind of help you. Who you knew you had people who were meant to have done mental health training who knew something, right? So having all of that and going to all these different places and doing everything to then go right, COVID, lockdown, you're seeing nobody, you don't do nothing, you're staring at four walls and you're dealing with just a win. I was like, right, this is wow, this is a big change. And then once COVID let up and then you could start getting back out, like I struggled really bad with like anxiety. Like I didn't want to go anywhere because I didn't know how to
Hmm.
interact with people anywhere because it was just I went so long where I had everybody to talk to, then I had nobody. You had all the people that you seen, all your pals, and then you're locked down and that's gone, and you're just like, right, let's like live gone and living in a cave. I was just like, I found that really hard. How did you find it?
It's the same with me in the same kind of aspect where I left in what, 2019, 2020, and like you said, it was the start of COVID, and but I went straight into working in a care home, and so while everybody else was kind of locked away in their own personal prisons, I was locked away in a different kind of prison, making sure people were surviving and all that, but it took a massive effect on my mental health as well, because if you look at the situation where the the world is just like stopped and but you're still gone, you're just like, is it me? What's happening here? It's one of the ones where you don't realise how important friends are to you. You don't realise all the connections that we made and all the connections that we've still got is whether that be board members who were just there to listen to you because they were, wanting to put something on their CV, or whether it's good friends such as yourself. You've always got that person that you can turn to and ever in need and someone say, listen, we've got 5 minutes to chat. And that's what it's all about. It's about turning and making sure that everybody's there to support one another. Because you only get, like you said earlier on, you only get one shot at the job, but you only get one shot at life. You don't get to go and do it again. So
So,
looking at all the people who, unfortunately had major illnesses and passed away during that terrible time, and looking at all the people who've suffered since that, and who are still suffering to this day, and the lack of support and the lack of, you know, awareness. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot more awareness now in regards to mental health, but at the same time, it's still that kind of thing where, you know, there's that stigmatisation run about it to come and say, well, you're the man, what you thinking for? Just get on with it. It's just like, no, you need to, emotions are part of who you are. It's like, um, if you go out there and get hit with a bus tomorrow, then that's going to affect you. It's going to affect your family. It's going to affect your kids. It's going to affect that driver. It's going to affect all the people in that bus. So there's not one person that's, you know, no important. Everybody's important in the same way. The transition for that role was, it's like a wake up call because you've been there and you've been that used to being in a level of control and a level of support when you can go to anybody at the drop of a hat, say, right, okay, it's like waking up for a daydream, turning a very nice dream, and turning around and going, where do I go now? What do I do now? And I think it's that part a lot of people who are coming in out the role, especially frequently, kind of less frequently than we did, but at the same time, I think that's where there needs to be a wee bit more done in regards to, right, I mean, even at school, you're seeing it at school, mamas get girls and all that, and the boys are at school. They're not getting anybody to help with career moves, they're not getting anybody to help with, like, school counsellors. All of that was available to us when we were at school. All of that. We had career days and job fairs and all that. And it's all down to the same reason. Money. And you're just like, money isn't the world's best thing. I
no,
mean, you see a guy
it's,
living in the park and he's as happy as Larry. You see a billionaire living in a mansion, he's depressed. It's just like,
that's that. I mean, that's the thing with mental health, man. It doesn't stigmatise. It doesn't just go, oh, I'm only just going to go here. I'm going to just go there. It's, do you know what I mean? It is just so hard. Like when you're dealing with things, and like you said, there's no enough things put in place. It's like for me, a big thing that I'm always rambling on about. I mean, I'm blowing the misses all the time talking about it. There's so many different avenues I see, and it all really boils down to the same thing. Like no, there's like no enough support in place,
mm-hmm.
or the problem I'm noticing now a lot is there's a lot of tick box mentality.
I've got that.
Do you know what I mean? It's yeah, we understand. Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, we'll put this in place. We'll put that in place. So what I'm talking about in that reference is my wee man's showed signs like me. He's get like I think he's definitely got ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
100%. But it's like we're saying to the school, right? Listen, we think he's got ADHD, so please don't make sure he doesn't have anything with sugar. And then they're coming to us at the end of the day and going, we don't know. We've had a really bad day. He's not really been listening. We can't understand what his problem is today. And I'm like, all right, come home, and I'm like, what'd you have for lunch, son? Has his lunch? Oh, and I had a chocolate brownie and a chocolate ice cream, and I'm like, are you having a laugh? Or
Mm-hmm.
oh, there was such and such his birthday today. We all had the kids had birthday cake. Is that okay? No.
Obviously, no.
So hold on. It's like right. So let's work it out. Don't know how you can't figure this logic out. It's like he goes in the morning. He's fine. He's given stuff with sugar, then he's not listening. Well, I
Nothing.
don't know what the problem could be. Do you know, and it's like
And that common
they try to
denominator,
say,
sugar.
and they try to say when I've been in and spoke to them, oh yeah, no, we understand, we've put things in place, we're doing this, we're doing that. But then I see the way they talk and I see the way they act, and I'm like, no, you've got teachers that can understand, okay, this child has ADHD, this child has these other additional support needs. But what they're not doing is they're not putting anything in place for it. They're going, oh yeah, yeah, we get it. No, you
Aye,
don't.
but they're actually doing nothing.
It's like, no, you don't. I mean, my wee man's only 6, so I'm having to say to him, right, listen, son, if you're struggling and it's getting too much for you, go and speak to your teacher. Ask your teacher if you can sit at the back of the class for 5 minutes, take a breather,
Mm-hmm.
just there you go. We're having to give him. Then they were like, "Oh, he's dead fidgety," and I'm like, "Aye, ADHD." So we got him like things around his neck, we chews and stuff like, so he can just kind of
Aye.
almost like swim a
Manage it a
bit,
wee bit better.
and handle it a bit better. We put it in his gave him in. They're like, "He's not allowed that. You need to write in and ask. You need to get permission to help bring him in." I'm like, "You're having a laugh?" It's like you're saying he needs stuff. I'm putting it in place to manage it so that it makes
Mhm.
your life easier and his life easier. And then you're going, but we need to get permission. It's like,
There's so many
wow.
barriers, and that's talking
It's
about
like they
awareness.
just, it's like and they just don't understand. And it's like there's so many things that like I worry about because it's like that aspect. So the schools don't really understand. They've got like a tick box thing, and that's it. And then the thing I found really mental, I seen it in a podcast, and it was talking about it, and it was Roman Kemp, and he was talking about like schools and how like schools have got like uh your charter for what they're expected to do. Then they've also got the mental health charter. Only 10% of schools have signed the mental health charter. So he's like, all the schools have to sign this charter to say if anything happens to your kid, we're responsible. We'll take responsibility, but they
Duty of
won't
care.
sign the mental health one. And it's like, right, well, and I've said this to Gillian, I've said to my missus, I've said, like, I wonder how many people in the school are actually mental health trained, or at least have at least a general base knowledge of here's what to spot for like ADHD, here's what to spot for the signs for autism, here's to spot for this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just a general, get at least a base of knowledge, because I don't think they've got it. And that's what's really scaring me, because then I'm like, well, if that's a no in place to know in primary, and we know what it was like in college level, how much folk were struggling. Because I don't know about yourself, when I was at the college, some of the stats that we were getting, I I didn't agree with. I'm like, right, well, you could maybe double them,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like the way I look at it is it's like if they're saying, oh well, 200 students are coming in saying that they're struggling with their mental health, and they're seeing applying to see the counsellor, right? But I don't know what it was like at Kelvin. We had we had two counsellors for three colleges, and they were only in 1 day a week.
Well, at Kelvin, there was a temporary counsellor for 4 colleges, and you're lucky if you've seen them once every 6 months.
Aye, and I spoke to the counselling team and I went in and I said, like, listen, it's amazing that you are here. Like, it's really needed. Like, what is it you actually get? And they're like, the college are really good. Like, they gave us a room. And I'm like, right, what else did they do? Did they help promote you? Do you know what I mean? Does everybody know
Mm-hmm.
where you are? And they were like, we've got a backlog that's at least 8, 9 months, if not more. And I'm like, right, so most people are going to be finished with their course before they've got a chance to see Andy. Then all they've got is a wee office, and it was you had to go through the library, through to the back to where the support team was, and then there was an office at the back of the support team's office was for the mental health. And I'm like, how are you going to actually see
You need
MD?
to walk through it. If it's that person who's seriously struggling with mental health, number one, you're trying to make it as accessible to that person as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't accessible to anybody, because if you're seriously struggling with mental health, say for example it was our first year, people, right? And I was seriously struggling with mental health, and I had an appointment to go and see that counsellor, and all yous were in that library, and all yous were in that living support group. I wonder what by yous. I wonder what by yous. Because you're putting barriers in that way. You're putting a brick wall. You need to punch through a brick wall every single time, and it's no easy. It's no easy. I've
Aye.
suffered with mental health for years, more so recently, and it's just one of the ones where you're just like, do you know what? It's actually alright to talk about it, because it's one of the things that's not spoke about. It is spoke about enough, but in a kind of subtle, yes, we understand. Yes, we know it's very difficult. No, don't talk down to me. Don't talk down to me. I'm an adult.
Aye.
I'm 36. I'm nearly 36 years old. I'm struggling with mental health. I don't need you to treat me like I'm a 2-year-old who just had a wee tantrum. No, no. I need help. I don't need, you know, made to feel inferior or made to feel less than what I am. I just need help to get back to the same person that I used to be. And
Aye,
it's the same with a lot of people nowadays. But it's like you're saying, you put barriers in people's places. You're supposed to knock them down the barriers, not putting them up.
aye. I mean, it should be so much easier, like you said, with things like that. You need to put if you go somewhere on campus for folk to go and speak to somebody, have it in somewhere that's easily accessible and that there isn't any obstacles. Like you said, a lot of folk, if you're struggling with your mental health and if you don't like big crowds, because sometimes with my anxiety, I don't like big crowds.
And you
Like
said,
my anxiety as well. Like I've said to Gillian, like I mean, I know how to. I'm mental health trained. I know what I'm talking about, and I've dealt
same.
with this for my mental health since I was like 14. So like I know what I'm dealing with, and I know how to put things in place. I know how to spot my own triggers. But in the same sense, if Gillian turns around and now I'm 41, so if Gillian turns around and goes like that, they know, oh, let's go and take the kids to wherever a park or something. I won't go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it, or I'll go, but it'll be at a struggle. And I'm like,
Aye.
right, we're doing it, we're playing, we're doing what we need to do for the kids, and then we're getting away. Like, cause if I'm going somewhere and I don't already have it pre-planned that I know where I'm going, my anxiety kicks off.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, right, okay, what is it? Where am I? Where am I safe? Where am I no safe? I can't handle stuff like that. So again, if your anxiety's up, and like I said, in the Clydebank campus, you had to walk up the stairs, depending on what floor you're coming from, obviously. Outside the library, there's the big seating area. So if there's a big group of people, you've got to walk through them, go through the
Mm-hmm.
doors, through everybody in the library, through the back, through a support staff office, ask if it's alright to come in, then make sure there's somebody in the office for you to deal with and there's no somebody already in, to then try and get in to get a chance to speak to somebody. That's a lot of barriers to put in place for people. And
And
it's,
it's even worse when people are at crisis point. It's even worse
aye,
because they'll come and they'll just look at that and they'll do, nah, see you later. And that could be the point where they'll come and say, unfortunately, I can't deal with it anymore. They go and deal with things that maybe aren't the best idea for them. It helps them cope at the time, but at the
mm-hmm,
same time, it's no it's not a long term solution. It's a quick fix, and you're just like, no, you should have been given the right support. You should have been given the right help. And there's a lot of people out there aren't getting it. And it's the same with schools, colleges, unis, everything else. And you're just like, the most basic thing to being human and being part of, society and the part of the world is you can't help anybody else if you're not alright. It's as simple as that.
aye. That's that. I mean, it's you kind of you can't fill for an empty cup. You know what I mean? It's you've got to help yourself first. I mean, that's self care is one of the most important things. It's like you know what I mean. That's the whole point is you've got to look after yourself first. Because then, if you can get yourself right and get yourself feeling better, and in a safe space where you feel safe and you feel all right and everything's fine, then you can then try and help other people. But until then, there is no point because you can't try and help other people. I mean, again, coming away from like the college side of things, and like, when we had left, I struggled to try and find something because again, like I said, after the COVID aspect, it still kind of lingered. Like no
Hmm.
having anybody, that isolation, that just getting stuff somewhere to go, feel heard, and get stuff off your chest. Now, for obvious reasons, I won't name names, but I had found a club to go to, and it was good. It was fine. Started up, went the first week, finished. But the second week, I went from just going to I was a facilitator. Then 2 weeks later, I was running the club. I ran it for about a year and a half. Had my issues with it, with the way things were done, with the way some of the rules were. There was a lot of aspects of which I get the rules that I've got to bring in place and stuff like that, but there was lots of stuff that they were put in place for what you could and couldn't talk about,
Mhm.
you know. And some of the guys who were coming in and who were telling us some of the struggles they were facing, what they were dealing with, what they were trying to cope with, a lot of the problems that they had fell into those brackets. So you can't then let them talk about what they're struggling with mental, what's affecting their mental health, because you go, ah, right, well, we can't talk about legal matters, leave that. Or we don't talk about medication. So if anybody wanted to say, oh, well, I'm struggling with this, or my
Mhm.
moods are a bit off because I've been trying something, the new meds or whatever, can he talk about that? So it's limiting what you can talk about, what you can talk about, which I didn't agree with.
No,
And
of
then there was
course.
also that element that they were saying any training that you've done previously stays at the door. We're not a counselling service. You know, we're not a counselling service. We're not here to give people things. Now, for anybody that listens to this or watches this and maybe has a problem with what I'm saying, understand what I'm saying, listen to me. I get that they've got to put things in place because, again, if you're not a trained professional and you don't understand, there could be certain things you could say that maybe triggers people, or you could maybe give people the wrong advice. I totally understand that better than most. I get
Aye.
it. But my thing, and this is again to cover myself here, this is my opinion. If you're in a position like that and somebody comes in, if yourself came in, Shaun, right? If you came in and you're struggling, you're getting stuff off your chest, and you're explaining what you're going through, but you're saying stuff and you're explaining that you're not in a good place. The dark thoughts are there. You're thinking, right now, we've had examples where people came in and shared stuff like that, and it's
Mhm.
okay. Thanks for sharing. Next person. I do not agree with that in any way, shape, or form. Because you know yourself, it's hard enough to go to somewhere to try and get stuff off your chest. Then it's hard enough on top of that to be like, right, okay, now I need to share stuff. Right, now I need to share. For then to do that, and then you don't. Why the worst things you can do to somebody is not make them feel heard and not give them that safe space to talk. That can set them back in their mental health a lot worse than sitting going, oh, well, we've got to be careful what we're saying because we're not a counselling service. I get we're not a counselling service. I totally understand that. But maybe I'm just coming at for a point that as somebody who is mental health trained, I can't with the training I've got and knowing how much an impact it can have and knowing how mental health can affect people. I can't sit there if somebody's sharing something and not be like, even if it's something as simple as, and how are you feeling now? Are you still in that place? How are you feeling? Have you
Mhm.
got somebody to speak to? Have you told somebody? Are you needing any support? Like, let them feel heard, give them a chance to talk, and actually, it just boils down to common decency in my head. You know, it's like you've got to let people feel heard, and you've got, most importantly, and again, I'll get to why I'm saying this as well. Most importantly for me, you can't just sit there and pay lip service. You can't just sit and say all the good stuff. Because I said to Gillian, now, you could be sitting in a room with one person or 100, right? I would rather take the one person who's genuinely listening, genuinely cares, and is there for me than 100 people paying lip service and going, yeah, we're here if you need us, yeah, boom. Because that's no good. I mean, and that's the biggest thing, and that's why I'd left that group. I mean,
Mhm.
I've tried to go back since, but I can see that leaving as well, to be honest. But I left because and I don't mind saying, because again, the whole point of this podcast is to talk freely and openly. I went
Mhm.
in one and I'd said to the guys, look, listen, having a bit of a bad week, guys, a bit low, not really feeling that great this week, having some dark thoughts. But don't worry, I said I'm in a good place. I've recognised it. I know my triggers. I know how to put things in place so that I'm alright and I'm managing it because I know how to deal with it.
Mhm.
But I just need to get it out and I just need to talk and have somebody there for me. every single person in that room who had came for the last year and a half struggling, and I helped them get in the good place that they're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I said I was struggling, went continued on down the line talking, and I'm like, are you serious? I'm like,
Uh-huh.
so I'm there for you and give you everything, but the one time in almost 2 years that I'm like, I just need a bit of,
Yeah,
just
you're a
let me
bit of
know somebody's
camaraderie.
there for me. Do you know what I mean? And nah, I get ignored, and I was like, nah. I was like,
Mm.
that was like the biggest kick in the teeth because it wasn't even just that they didn't give me anything back. They didn't seem interested. You know, you see the blank look in the face when nobody's really, they're just checked out. And I was like, how can anybody do that to somebody? Again, I was really glad that it happened to me and no anybody else
Yeah,
because
that's it.
I know how to manage my mental health. I've got my coping strategies. I know how to deal with things. I know how to put things in place.
Mm.
And I know as well, if I really struggle, I can reach out to yourself and I can talk to you. So I'm fine, I've got that covered. But what if it's somebody who doesn't have those outlets? What if it's somebody who doesn't know how to manage their mental health, doesn't know how to like put things in place, and they finally opened up, and then somebody's like, "Oh, okay, quiet, not really listening, passing the ball." Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, you don't understand the impact that that could have on them.
Mm.
If it's took all that effort to come out the house to come to then share, and then you feel like nobody's actually listening.
It's important for anybody who's suffering from mental health for two things, right? And again, I'm to make it clear, it's my opinion and it's a basic human right, as far as I'm concerned, or at least it should be. Excuse me. Is you're out there, you're struggling with mental health. Number one, if you've got a good friend or you've got family support and all that, great, fantastic. Just remember, a lot of people haven't, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people haven't got that support. A lot of people will just decide to sit and suffer. Don't sit and suffer, right? It's like we've said in this podcast, excuse me, about it all being open and as transparent as possible. I'm mental health first aid trained, so is James. And the difference is, you're not always guaranteed to meet somebody like that in life. You're not always, we've been exceedingly fortunate that we've been through some incredible times and some really challenging times. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, it's one of the things where, again, if anybody's listening, there is a lot of support out there, but there's a lot of people who aren't getting the support because the simple fact is there's too many barriers being put in the way. If you're struggling, and I'm saying this to anybody that watches or listens to this, and say it to yourself as well, I've said it to you for years, if you're struggling with mental health, there's two things you need to know, and they're the key things, in my opinion. Number one, you've got the right to feel how you're feeling, and number two, your feelings are valid. That's it.
Exactly.
Your feelings are valid. Don't ever let anybody tell you what you're feeling isn't right, because at the end of the day, you're human, you're not perfect, and you don't claim to be. You're one of these people who'll come and say, well, I'll help you, and you don't look for anything back, right? But when you need that support, that's where you need good people. Like I've got James and James has got me, and we've all got the other connections that we made. But the difference is, there's not a lot of people out there who'll come and say, you've helped me for the last 2 years. I'm going to give you at least half an hour to let me just rant. Sometimes that's all you need. Talking is the best medicine you can have. Talking is the best
It really
medicine.
is.
Instead of
Like,
topping you up with your pills, instead of talking to a counsellor who'll just come and say, yes, okay, yes, okay. No, that is a very good point. And write everything down in a notebook and then put it away in a vial for the next 75 years is, and write a prescription. What, here's a question for you, right? Back in, back in the medieval times, right? Back in the medieval times, how many people had ever heard of settling? How many people had ever had the antidepressants? How many people had ever had their counselling? Nobody had
Ah,
all that,
really?
but they all
That's
still had
really,
mental health. They all still had mental health. And
it's
that was
been
a
like,
lot worse. They never had a bloody clean toilet to go to for one. But the difference is, they all still had mental health issues, and they all managed to get through it. We're no different.
that's, I mean, that's one of the things I've had a few conversations in the last couple of years about, and you know, I think it's what people forget is there's too many people I've met that have got that tunnel vision as to what the right answer is. It's like, oh well, you get people that are like, no, no, yeah, you need meds. I thought, no, 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 you don't. I'm a firm believer on do what works for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, there will be people who genuinely the medication helps, but me personally, my opinion, I've tried medication, and this is from my point of view. I've tried medication, multiple different ones, since I was 14. For me, didn't work
Mm-hmm.
because the way I look at it personally is my last time I was on antidepressants, I felt absolutely numb. Just me personally, I felt absolutely numb. Didn't feel anything. I went through like some bad experiences, and it was like looking at a stone wall. I was like, inside, I was dying to just bust, just dying to greet, let it out, let my emotion out. But my face showed
Mm-hmm.
nothing. And I was like, for me, just what works for me is how can I deal with my feelings if I can't feel my feelings? So I
So,
had to get off the meds for me because that's again, like I said, everybody's different. But for me, what works for me is getting off the meds. And I've had these discussions as well with people who, one of my friends I had a debate with lately, who his opinion is that talking therapies don't work. What you need is to go up and walk a hill, go hill walking,
let's go hill
or
walk.
go a nature walk or something. Now, go on walks, getting out in nature can be so relaxing and so beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, again, like I keep saying, which people get annoyed with, but like for me personally, like it's good to get out and it's good to go and see places and day things and get something a nice calming environment. That's fine. But what you going to do when I come back in the house and the thoughts are still there?
Aye.
The things that are still bringing my mood down are still there. You've not dealt with it. If
No,
it's still there,
you've
you've
just
not dealt with
suppressed
it.
it
You've
from
not
you.
addressed it. You're no helping anything. So for me, what works for me is it works for me to have something to throw my energy into and somewhere to talk and be able to talk properly and openly, and most importantly, to be feel safe and feel heard. You know what I mean? And like you said, perfectly there, man. To know that my feelings are valid and it's fine, and that's what's needed. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think works better than anything. Is being able to actually have that safe space. And again, this kind of goes down a chat that we've had previously, Sean. Um, what I've found works for me is I started and I took a step away for a bit, but now I'm going back to it. What I found works for me is I found boxing. I found I needed to find something where I could channel my energy because initially I was like, I'll get back into football because that was one of my biggest passions. Back in the day, I almost signed a decent contract until my bad knee went, so that messed me up. But what works for me, I was going to do football, and then I was like, I can't do that because it's my knee's messed up. It will no work. So I was like, okay, I'll do boxing. So I started doing boxing, and that helped. See, just getting in and doing a bit of boxing and doing that, it was so good because you can just get out and just hit a bag. You don't need to think about it, and it's such a good way. Kind of, I want to. This is what I was saying to you before. What I want to now try and do. Sorry, man.
Calls, it's honestly.
You're fine, man. Don't worry about it. But as I said, it's like what. what I've found now is what I want to do is to try and look into doing boxing coaching for fitness. Now it's something I've not done previously, right? So and I'm saying that now because this is some of the button heads I've had with people being like, "You don't have a background in boxing, you'll not be able to do it," and I'm like, "Watch me, watch me." So I want to kind of learn to coach boxing for fitness so that I can then incorporate the fitness side of things with the mental health side, so that you can have a session where you come in. I'll have a chat. It's kind of going to roughly tailor it where I'll come in, get a chat. How's the week been? How's everybody feeling on a scale 1 to 10? Where's everybody's moods at? See how
Mm.
everybody's feeling. Do that. Do a session, and then after the boxing, sit, debrief, and then like how's everybody feeling? Bump and get another chat. I'm kind of doing it that way because being able to incorporate both is going to help massively. And for me, I think it's a market there isn't anybody else out there doing it, and it's not even a case of anybody else out there doing it because I've thought about it and I'm like, is there anybody else doing anything similar? Are they no? But the thing is, nobody else will come at it from my experience. Nobody else will come at it with my knowledge and my understanding.
Mhm.
That's already putting me far above the curve exactly. So that's what I want to do. But I mean, how did you find it? I know you've went back football. How's that helped for your mental health?
Football has been absolutely incredible for me because it's not just football. It's, it's about camaraderie. It's about turning and having people who are the same as you, human, just going through life day by day, families, works, everything else. But at the same time, we've all got that one passion, like you have with boxing, I've got with football. So it's one of these things where you're just like, how you can connect through sports is one of the most amazing things that I don't really think is been a tapped market enough to come and say, boxing is about, you know, making yourself fit and moving at speeds and the stamina and all that. But what you're talking about, especially, is one of the ones where you can not only just, train your body, but you can also train your mind as well. To come and say, well, it's if you go into a heavyweight title fight and your mind's not right, then 9 times out of 10 you'll miss that fight.
Aye.
But at the same time, if I'm getting into a cup final or if I'm getting into a penalty shootout, I know for a fact that where I want to put that ball. But the difference is, if my mind's not right and my mind's not in the game, and somebody in the crowd shouting uh, abuse or you're going to miss it or you're overweight, you're this, you're that, which is all
Mhm.
harmed. It's one of these things where if you're getting distracted by that, the best thing I can ever say, and it ties into kind of what we're talking about, the relationship between mental health and sport. You've seen Happy Gilmore, haven't you? See the bit where the guy goes like that, I think it's Shooter McGavin, and he goes like that, he phones the wee crazy weird guy in the wee hat, and he comes into the golf course and says, "You suck, jackass," and it throws him off his game.
Aye.
That's the exact same thing. Happy Gilmore then can't hit the ball the same way he used to, and then he
Aye.
gets rattled. It's the same thing with boxing, it's the same thing with football. Everybody gets rattled, but at the same time it's finding a way to deal with it. Happy Gilmore, as put in the film, goes to his happy place, where, he's nice, quiet, tranquil. It's all these kind of things, and that's what a lot of people come in and say, well, go to your happy place. Aye, but what if you, I'm at the lowest point I can ever be. I've not got a happy place right now. My happy place doesn't exist. My happy place is burnt way down the bridges. But it's one of these things where talking therapy does help. Medication, everybody's different, everybody's unique. Medication didn't help you, medication helped me. It doesn't help me, talking helps you. We're all different, we're all unique. And it's about trying to find that kind of connection and that thing where you can make the two of them balance each other out. My brain chemistry is different for yours.
That's that. Aye.
My body's different for yours. So if football helps me because I can literally kick the hell out of a ball, then fine. If you can punch it out of a bag, great. But the
Exactly.
difference is, it's I'm not thinking about people that I don't like when I kick that ball. I'm thinking about all the happy times that I've had kicking that ball. I'm thinking all the cheers when I go to tournaments and everything else. When I went away to Germany with my football team, it was fantastic. But there's a thing that's kind of promotional, so don't know if you want to cut it out, whatever, but it's fine.
No, go for it.
It's the Warriors Football Association, and it's three divisions. It's for people who are overweight. It's for people who are 30 plus BMI. No professional, no ex-professionals, but it's in a lot of different communities, and it's got a lot of different teams. And if you need the link, I'll send you the link for anybody that's watching who's into football and all that. Um, One thing I would say as well to anybody that's watching or listening, like and subscribe to this guy's podcast because he's an absolute legend. So he is.
Cheers,
He's an
mate.
absolute legend. So he is. I don't know how his missus puts up with him, but that's not the point. So
Here they are.
no,
Yeah.
it's
I
one of the
mean,
things.
like
But
you
if we
say
are
that,
here there with each other, then we'll get there. We all need to
exactly.
date each other.
I mean, that's the thing you're saying as well with the football. I mean, more teams like that are needed because before I found boxing, that was part of what I was looking at. Was I think more stuff needs to be done with football because for me, one of the biggest things I've thought is you look at how many people go to football. Some of the guys that we've had at the group and some of the guys most people I've met in general is you might be stuck in the house all week, Sean. You might never see MD. Your only chance at I don't want to feel alone. I want
But
somewhere where I don't feel alone, where I feel like I belong and I fit in. That's what people need. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, any gender, doesn't matter. You need somewhere where you feel like you belong and you fit in. And see the fact that when you can go to a football match, and even though you might have spent the last 6 days isolated, feeling like you don't fit in anywhere, like there's something wrong with you, you don't belong, or whatever your brain might be telling you, when
mm,
you get into that football stadium, and even though you might talk rubbish with somebody next to you about the game, or did you see that, or that might be the only contact you've had all week. So this is why I've
exactly.
always said these are the places where the mental health work and support and raising awareness needs to happen is in sports clubs at football teams because how many people in that stand? I mean, you would probably wouldn't get people to do it, but I would love to go to any football stadium and go, right, how many people here feel that they're alone and they're the only person who are feeling low mood and they're dealing with mental health? Put your hand up.
Mm,
And if they would all be honest, how many people would raise their hand and go, look, see, you're not alone?
exactly.
Because it's how many people are so sad sitting in the house and then they don't go anywhere. I've got a pal in the town in here stays where I am, who I've known for years. I've not seen him. He stays literally a 5 minute walk, right? I've not seen him in over 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of my oldest pals, not seen him in 3 years, at least. He knows his line road. Goes to his work, comes home, sits in the house. His only form of getting out anywhere, got to the fitba. That's what makes him feel like he belongs somewhere. It takes the mental strain and the cloud and his head down. And I'm like, this is where it's needed, is in the sports club. And again, this is where I think what I want to do with boxing is gonna help, and there is a market for it because there's been so many guys in the club that I go to who are talking about their mental health and they're like, oh, sometimes I go boxing, I just love hitting the bag. Just sometimes I'm in one of those moods and I just need to hit the bag. I'm like, right, but that's not what it's all about. It's not just about going hitting the bag. You're hitting the bag because you've got stuff that's bothering you. Whereas if you could combine the two and
Mm-hmm.
hit the bag, but also get stuff off your chest, well then you're helping both. Otherwise, you're just hitting the bag and hitting the same problems, coming back, repeating the same process. So if you
Exactly.
can actually come, hit a bag, and then go, right, let's sit down, right. I noticed you were hitting the bag a bit heavy there, like, what's going on? Like, what's up? Let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
That could make the world a difference to somebody. You don't realise what
Which is good.
I've always said this. You don't realise what people are going through. You don't. People might put a happy smiley face on, but you don't realise what somebody's dealing with behind closed doors. So it's like, give people that space to just belong and fit in. And this is why I want to date, is it's kind of, I want to give back and give people the safe space that I never had growing up. I didn't have places that I could go where I felt safe, where I felt I could talk, where I thought I could get stuff off my chest, and I just had somewhere to sort of belong and had like a group that cared. And that's what I want to sort of create, is to let
Mm.
people know it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, what you've faced or what you've no faced. You might feel like you're the only person that's dealing with it, but I guarantee you, as soon as you start talking and people start going, "Oh, aye, me as well.
Aye.
Or, I have had that," or "Oh, I felt like this," and you give each other advice, and "I've tried this and I've tried that." Again, people will go, "Oh, but you're not a counselling service, right?"
You
No.
don't need
Do you
to
know
be,
what?
that's the
See if
thing.
I'm struggling. If I'm struggling and you're like, "Listen, I've tried this." Well, do you
Mm-hmm.
know what? See if I'm struggling and what I'm doing clearly isn't working. Let me try
You're
what
going
you're
to try
saying.
something else. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I might be like, I might say to somebody like, "Oh, blah blah blah. I've had a talk with Shaun and he does this with football. No, 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 and this has helped him." And then somebody doing the boxing might even go, "Well, do you know what? I'm not really feeling the boxing side of it. I'm enjoying the chat and I'll come for that, but I'm also going to then go and do Fitbit now because I that seems to help. That works more for me." Brilliant. But you've got to give people that safe space where they can go, and you've got to understand, most importantly, more than anything, I know I keep saying it, but you don't understand how alone people could be,
No. You've
either
not
in
got
the house
inclusion.
or in their own head, where they need somewhere to just feel that they belong, they're heard,
Mm-hmm.
and that somebody cares. Like, do you know what I mean? You're not going to share it if you don't feel that people actually genuinely care. And it
Exactly.
could make the difference for having somebody to just to go, "Do you know what? We might be strangers, we might have just met today. I care. What's going on?"
Exactly.
I can make a difference, do you know what I mean?
It can, and it's like everything you're saying now is 100% true, but it's like to make sure you're here, to make sure it's a safe space, and first of all, to make you feel valued, because everybody matters. I mean, there was a campaign a couple of years ago, Black Lives Matter. No, no. As much as that does matter,
Yeah,
everybody's life matters. There's nobody on
yeah.
this entire planet that, isn't worth being here. Everybody is. Everybody got their own path to walk. We might not be able to change the stuff that we've done in the past. We might not be able to, go back and rewind it. By God, we wish we could, but at the same time, we can't. The past
I
doesn't.
mean,
It's your past is what makes you who you are, but it's
I
at the
mean
end of
that's
the day,
this
you
is
need
kind of
people
part of.
with things.
I mean, it's kind of part of what I've said as well before. Is I get what you're saying. Obviously, Black Lives Matter, but it should be a case of, I don't like when people get segregated into, well, we'll deal with this here, and we'll deal with this there, and we'll deal with this here. I think it needs to be a blanket, like everybody flipping matters. That's what it's all about. Because for me, my biggest problem I've had is, see when you go, oh, there's a group out here for women dealing with
Mm-hmm.
mental health. There's a group out
Aye.
here for men's mental health. Now, I understand statistically the stats are with the men, right? I
Aye,
understand
of
that, right?
course. Of
But
course.
how much would these stats be lowered if you combined it? And I've had arguments with people arguing with me, telling me, "Oh, but people won't speak if their missus are there, and people won't talk. Women won't speak about women's problems if men are there, and vice versa." I don't agree with that. I think
Difference is, you're
you
not asking them
can't.
to.
My opinion is you cannot sit in a meeting, right, and say women don't understand my mental health, right? Have you told them? You can't fix the problem if you don't include them in the conversation.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You have got to go, bring this in, and go, here's how we feel, here's how we feel. You don't necessarily, I'm not saying you need to agree with everything MD's saying, but let's
No.
find a common ground. Let's find a mutual, do you know what? I'll support you as best I can, and you support me as best you can. Here's what I'm dealing with, here's what you're dealing with. If we don't understand what everybody's going through, how can we help?
Mm-hmm.
And you're never
Exactly.
going to fix the problem with mental health and in general, or with men's mental health, if you don't include women, if you don't let the women know. And the thing is, people go, "Oh, but it's men this, it's men that." I'm not being funny. I've been to groups and I've managed groups and I've ran groups. 9 times out of 10, the guys who are there, getting the support, getting the help, and are then in better places, are there because it's their women that have identified, babe, you need help.
Aye.
Like, no need help in that sort of way. I don't want them to take me out
No,
of context what I'm
no.
saying. But it's like, you need to go and speak to somebody, get some help and support, and like, it's fine, go and get it off your chest and go and talk. And it's their partners supporting them that makes the world a difference.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean? And that's what's needed. And it's like learning all the stuff with mental health has then helped me as well open up to Gillian. So then if I didn't open up to Gillian and she couldn't go, right,
aye, you're right.
I'm spotting your triggers now. What's up? What's on top of your head? What's up? Let's talk it out. Well then if I didn't learn to include her in the conversation, well then I'm going to be living with that in my head and I'm going to be in a negative space, isn't I? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you've got to. I don't include with separating. You've got to kind of go right. Let's do something together. Do you know what I mean? It needs
We
to
need to
be,
be we
and it's
need to
like
be
I've had
open.
people argue and say, well, women won't do it this way and guys won't do it that way. That's fine. That's fine. That's their choice. But you've got
We
to
need to,
give them that space. There needs to
we
be
need to
that
come to and
space where
says,
you can say, if you want to come together and do something and talk and box and whatever, we can do it together. There's nothing to say we can't. We're
exactly,
all in it together. If there's a problem that we can all fix together, why not be in it together?
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
You need to be, that's the thing. It's one of the things where open conversation is the best form you can ever get because the simple fact is, if you're truly and completely open with whether that's your other half or no, or you're with your partner, whatever, then it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you're both there to support each other. It's like any relationship ever. It's like a man with his dog, a woman with cats. It's like, and again, no being stereotypical or anything like that, but
No,
the
but you
difference
mean.
is it's one of the ones where it's if you're not open with the person that you're trying to confide in, then you're not really being open with yourself at the same time. It's you need to be honest with yourself. You need to be honest. Like I said before, your feelings are valid. Your feelings matter. You matter. And I've had people who talk to having dark thoughts and all that. And again, I'm no a trained counsellor or anything like that. But if you can talk somebody off a ledge, then a metaphorical ledge,
Yeah,
then that's absolutely fine. But the difference is that doesn't mean that the next day is going to be the next 10, 15 days are going to be fantastic for them. You could go back doing the
aye.
same way. Because, like you says, a lot of problems start and stop at your front door. And if you walk into a job, all your problems that you've got, which everybody has, then it stops at the front door of that office or that construction site that you're about to go into. But the most important thing is if you're doing sports or you're doing boxing or you're doing therapy, whatever
Hmm.
works for you, then you can go into that job or you can go into that specific door and you can walk through it knowing that, you know what, I had a nice conversation with James or I had a nice conversation with so and so, and do you know what, me and my missus actually sat and had a heart to heart last night and we got a lot of things off our chest that I've been dealing with and she's been dealing with. We don't agree on everything. We disagree on quite a lot, but at the same time, we've found that common ground that actually does help. And it's actually
And
made
that's
our
it.
marriage or our partnership stronger. So and this is all, everything we're saying, everything that's been said, it's all skills that are transferable. And this is a platform where a lot of people, whether they watch it or whether they don't, that's their choice. For people who actually take the time to sit and listen to us and talk to us, it's a shame you need to look at us, but that's not the point. But at the same time, it's one of the ones where you can go, if you get something for this video, or this podcast, whatever platform that's going on, then, you know, you're welcome. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome.
That's the thing in it, and it's like you said as well. And when you can find somewhere to go, it's all about. Again, we say a lot around like the breaking the stigma, but for me as well, it's also breaking that cycle. Because if you're dealing with something in a house, and then you take it to the fat butt, or you take it to boxing, or whatever sport it might be, and you get a chance to talk it out, well then that's a problem you've got rid of. Problem half, you know what I mean? Then you're not taking it then back in the house, and then you're no then dealing with it again. So then it's like, if you break that cycle and go and talk about it and get it off your chest it there, and then you go home feeling a lot lighter and feeling better, well then things in the house are going to go better. So then you're not going to be as stressed the next time you go to fit bar boxing, and it's then just keep improving, and it's one day at a time, one step at a time. Just that's all you can really do. Do you know what I mean? And it's needed
So,
to kind of break that cycle, because if you're struggling again, especially for people who are isolated and don't have people to reach out to, or the clubs are maybe the only thing they can go to. But it doesn't matter if you've got a million things or you've just got that one thing. If you've got that safe space that we're talking about, and you've got the right people with the right frame of mind and who are coming at it with the right kind of heart, that can make the world a difference, and that's what's needed.
mm, informative. It's been educational. It's also been great talking to you because the simple fact is, no really spoke to in a while, but other than try to set this up. So,
Aye,
which
sure I
is
will,
like
mate.
me with booked in podcast for dummies. So, but other than that, it's just if anybody gets it out of this video, then you know you're welcome, and we're always
Exactly.
here.
And I just want to say as well, man, like, I appreciate you taking the time, like, kind of springing this on you now. But like, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and most importantly, more than anything, you've got no idea how much I appreciate the support you've gave me early years, Sean. Like, continue. There's been so many times that you're nothing but consistent. There's never been a time that you've been like, I'll dip the toe in and I'll give support, but then I'll jump out. Like, you're in and you're in, and that's meant the world to me early years. Just knowing that I've got that support, mate. So thank you, and thank you for coming on and taking the time, man. Because like you said, if one person watches this and takes something decent for it, bonus. If no, I've had a great chat with you, mate. So it's been
Same.
well worth it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thanks for doing what you're doing. Continue to support yourself, your kids, and your missus, and just keep keep being healthy, keep being focused, and it's like it is for all the years that I've known you, which is far too many to count, to be honest. But it's one of the ones where I couldn't have done anything at all without you, bud. You're one of the best people I know, and to be honest with you, it's like so it's kind of cheesy quote, but Toy Story, you've got a friend in me.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. Well, until next time, buddy.
Until next time, see
Appreciate
ya.
it, mate. Thank you.
Bye.